40 years, and today I have my special guest. She is a teacher, preacher, speaker, life lesson excavator, and career transformation expert. One coach, no other than Miss Tosca DiMatteo.
Thank
Welcome,
you. Thank
welcome.
you. Thanks for
Yes,
having me.
welcome, welcome. Yes, welcome, welcome, Miss Tosca. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I live here in Brooklyn, New York, and the work I do is really to help people at the intersection of personal growth and professional breakthroughs. So, whether I'm doing that on a main stage or whether I'm doing that through one-on-one coaching or anything in between, it's about helping people deeply transform what's possible for them by looking at the habits and patterns that they have that are no longer serving them and who they want to be.
Miss Tosca Di Matteo, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Yes, so today let's talk about inner confidence. How do you distinguish inner confidence from the external validation we often rely on, like praise, titles, or achievements?
Yeah, I say inner confidence because we can portray confidence without actually feeling that in our body and knowing our worth and our worthiness and our value. So, inner confidence is that knowing and believing the depth of what you have to offer without, needing or looking for the external validation of that.
Hmm. Empowering answer, Miss Tosca. And if arrogance is a confidence turned outward, what does pure, quiet inner confidence feel like on a day to day basis?
Well, I think what it feels like looks different for everybody, right?
Mm,
Um, Oftentimes it can feel expansive and you are open to possibility because that's what confidence gives us. Like that type of feeling, it can be that. It can be you feeling powerful. It can be you feeling literally sensations in your body when your confidence is truly present for yourself. And for everybody that's a little bit different.
yes, for sure. Everybody have their own aspect of confidence. Is inner confidence is a belief in your abilities, a belief in your worth, or something else entirely?
Well, interestingly, Jamie Lynn Kern wrote a book called Worthy recently, and she delineates the difference between worthiness and confidence. And these are very like tied together. But the way that I look at confidence is in that kind of deep worthiness way, in that way of not just believing in the skills that you have because you've done them before and that repetition and that experience gives you confidence, but also that true inner confidence is about trusting yourself that what experience that you have will allow you to accomplish and achieve and do what it is you're doing in that very moment, and that you get to own that, and not shy away from it and not block yourself from then receiving what is yours. And that's part of, I think, that worthiness piece, right? Because when it's, again, it's like wrapped up together. But when we are confident, we are then open to receive as a result versus blocking it because there's a deep fear underneath that we're actually not um, worthy of receiving what happens when we show up fully. Does that make sense?
Makes sense and beautifully, beautifully articulated. Miss Toscan, very well said. On the origins and barriers, where does our inner confidence typically come from? A childhood, or what are the most common experience that damage or derail it?
Well, I would start with saying that the bigger question for me around on like tapping into that inner confidence to really feeling it is to identify the barriers to that which is innate in us, that which is natural, that which we are born with. And those barriers for me include inner critic narratives that we're telling ourselves. And in the work that I do, really understanding what those inner critic narratives are and being able to shift our relationship with that is what enables the inner confidence to rise to the top. And those inner critics come in very early in our life, often. They start earlier than we think they do.
Yes, they do start early. And how does the voice of our inner critics specifically work to silence our inner confidence? And what is the first step to turning down its volume?
You know, what the inner critic does is it has this, what it's really doing at the end of the day is trying to keep us safe from something, you know? And it doesn't have a lot of tools in its toolbox to do that. Again, because it's formed pretty early, you know? So it often sounds like you should do this or you shouldn't do that, or
Mm,
that's
yes.
not going to happen. It's very absolute. It's very telling you what to do. And so what this can do is make us believe that those things are true and that we should follow that advice. And when we follow that advice of that voice that's actually not there serving us in that moment, that's when we make decisions like we don't speak up in the meeting, we don't go after that job that we're not 100% qualified for on paper, in air quotes there. Um, and that's the real challenge. Does that answer your question? It was a big question, so I just want to make sure I was tackling that
Yes,
appropriately.
yes, indeed, Mr. Khan. Why is comparing ourselves to others such as potent potion for inner confidence? What is the antidote?
Yeah. The antidote to comparing ourselves is to
We do always.
yeah, to really well, you can do one of two things. You can say, what is it that I'm telling myself about this comparison? And there's often information in there about what we want for ourselves. So there can be jealousy that comes up or envy that comes up when we are in that comparison. It's very natural. So first I would just say, look, if you've done it, if you're doing it, if you can't catch yourself from doing it, then you can then turn that into, well, what does this say about what I want for myself, what my goals are, what my aspirations are? And then, you know, make sure we're not going down the rabbit hole of the constant comparison. Make sure we're catching ourselves. And instead of focus on the external, focus on the internal. Focus on what is it that is true about myself that maybe I'm not giving myself credit for. What is true about my goals, and how can I put the energy that I was wasting on comparing myself to putting that energy towards reaching my goals?
Hmm, definitely. And how does the pursuit of perfection actively prevent us from assessing the confidence we need to even begin?
Yeah, perfectionism really makes us do a lot of overdoing. um, and spend time on things where, like, I like to say the juice isn't worth a squeeze, you know? And in a way, it's keeping us from doing more or doing bigger things because we're caught up spending time energetically on things that really don't matter. And when we're focused on getting things 100%, or we're focused on making sure there's zero mistakes, then we're we're limiting what's possible for us to see in our capabilities and in letting those things just be enough sometimes. And that can erode our confidence because we've set this bar so dang high. We've set it actually, but there is no such thing as perfectionism. So when we set some standard that is actually unattainable, then do we ever really reach it? And we delay moving on as a result. And then that erodes our confidence.
Yes. Truly, truly, truly empowering answer, Mr. Scan. And on the process of tapping in, is acting as if your confidence a valid strategy for building a real inner confidence, or it can be harmful?
Say that first part again.
Yes, in acting as
Mm,
if you're confident a valid strategy for building your
mm.
real inner confidence, or it can be harmful.
I think, it's different for everybody in terms of how it feels. So, for example, if you're kind of acting confidently, even though you're not quite there yet,
Hmm.
that can help get you there, right? Because you're standing in where you want to be, and that can help you in, yeah, fully embodying that belief that you belong there and that you can do what it is that you're being faced with doing. For other people, though, if they don't feel authentic in that, right? If they can't connect with the possibility, for example, that they can stand there and do that thing, then there can be that bigger dissonance, and that can be harmful in that moment versus helpful. So part of this work is really about experimenting with what works for you in terms of stepping into your power, in terms of feeling emboldened and confidence. And sometimes we just have to try a few different things to see what is that approach that will help me. So for example, sometimes, if I'm feeling a little bit insecure about something, I'm getting on a main stage, I might make sure that what I'm putting on, my outfit that I'm wearing, is something that makes me feel good, that makes me feel empowered. And that can help really lift my entire, being into that place. And that works for me because the external is kind of mirroring how I want to feel on the inside. And and some people just want to entirely start with, you know, how do I work on the inside first because the outside isn't going to do it for them.
Yes, fake it until you make it, as they say, people. How does systematically celebrating tiny daily accomplishments rewire our brain for greater self belief over time?
Yeah, well, you know what? First, I want to acknowledge something you just said, right, about this fake it till you make it.
Yes,
Because I actually don't believe in that. I
yes,
actually believe, like, right, that we're not faking anything. That if we just honor we are there in our experience and that what we bring to the table matters, then we're not faking anything. We're just operating from where we are. And and I think that's a different energetic space than saying, "Well, I don't really know what I'm doing, so I'm just gonna fake it till I make it," versus like, "Well," you know what I mean?
yes,
Like,
yes,
yeah, but yeah, but to your question, right? Like, I think that, at the core of what inner critic work is, it is about building step by step, day by day, the narrative that actually serves you, that builds you up. So the daily practices of celebrating your wins, the daily practice of saying things to yourself that are empowering, that what that does is it creates new pathways in your mind to hold on to, because right now you're holding on to the ones that aren't serving you.
Hmm.
so
Yes.
so if we build new thoughts that do serve us over time, that will be the predominant thing that we're saying, or it will become easier to access those more positive narratives, um, because we've been building that muscle to access it.
Miss Tosca, as a teacher, preacher, speaker, life lesson excavator, a career transformation expert, as well as a podcast host, what are your short term and long term goals?
Oh, my shirt. Well, I mean, what are we talking about? Personally, professionally?
Everything.
Everything, right? Like, my goals are to continuously learn this work through doing it myself so that I can serve in the best possible way to help others to do this work of quieting their inner critics and tapping into their inner confidence. Like, my goal is to constantly be in the work and do those things that are hard so that I can continuously break through in my own life, personally and professionally. Because at the end of the day, that's what I do for other people. I help them with their breakthroughs. So, from a business perspective, my goals are to be able to reach as many people as I can, to help them to see how they can actually change their lives through this work of addressing their inner critics, of shifting their relationship with them. So that's, big picture, what I hope to do.
Good luck to your goals, Miss
Thank you.
Tosca, and looking forward for more success. What would be your piece of advice for those people out there want to be like you?
um, thank you for. I love that question. And this work starts with one thing, and that one thing is deepening your awareness of what you're saying to yourself, of
Mm.
really paying attention throughout the day of the narrative that you're saying, because what happens is this narrative gets so intertwined with the other parts of who we are, the confident parts, the bold parts, right? The compassionate parts, that we think that these thoughts are also who we are, but they're not. They're just a part of us that was created to keep us safe. So the more that we can pay attention to what we're saying to ourselves, that creates the opening for disrupting those thoughts and creating new narratives that we can tell ourselves. And that is the crux of how you start deepen your awareness.
Thank you for that advice, Miss Tosca. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Well, the very first book that I read that introduced me to the topic of inner critics, quite frankly, is Tara Moore's book, Playing Big. And at this time, I was in corporate America. And that's when I realized, oh, in this inner critic thing is like something that I can actually work on, like that I can um, change the way I'm talking to myself. So, highly recommend that book as like an entrance into this work.
Yes, thank you for that recommended book, Miss Tosca. And how can our friends, mentors, and community help us build inner confidence without making us dependent on their validation?
We get to validate ourselves first and foremost. We get to celebrate ourselves, and the celebration is a huge part of what we do to tap into our inner confidence, because what ends up happening is we spend so much time beating ourselves up that we forget to make the space for celebrating all the little wins along the way. And that is really the key to remembering who we really are and what the truth is.
Yes, what is the truth is very important. Be authentic. So, Miss Tosca, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 in second season, and food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast Law 101 and mental health 101 love letters in third season, and movie 101 review and music 101 in fourth season, and science 101 and sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Tosca, if you could leave us with one fundamental truth about inner confidence, what would it be, and is it a skill, a birthright, or a choice?
What I would like to leave the audience with is to keep first and foremost in your mind how to be your own best friend. That yes, our thoughts will come and we can't control those initial thoughts, but we get to control what happens next. We get to say what we want to say to ourselves next. And so be your own best friend. That is the best way that you can remember who you are and rebuild confidence or build confidence perhaps for the first time for yourself.
Indeed, Miss Tosca DiMatteo. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy, your podcast, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Yeah, you can visit coachtosca.com and all the things are there. So that's coachtosca.com.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Tosca Di Matteo, because if you support her, for sure, more and more empowering advocacy to come, more and more empowering coaching to come, and for sure, more empowering episodes of the podcast to come. So, Miss Tosca, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. Pleasure to be here.
More to come, people. See you soon.